All right, thank you so much for staying with Metropole TV. This is Business Here AM, where we talk matters business. And now I look at the trends that we have for you. We are talking matters KRA, and that is a voluntary tax disclosure program. And early this year, the government introduced a tax amnesty known as the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program, that is VTDP. Today, we get to understand what it is and what it means for the taxpayer, that is you and I. And to take us through this discussion, we are joined by Monica Gethuba, who is a tax expert with the Kenya Revenue Authority Domestic Taxes Department. Good morning, Monica.
Good morning, Tabitha.
Great to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great. Now, Monica, early this year, the government introduced the tax amnesty known as the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program, which is also known as the VTDP. Maybe we can start by understanding this VTDP. What does it mean? Take us through that, Monica.
So the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program is a program that allows a taxpayer to disclose their previously undisclosed tax liabilities to the commissioner for the purposes of getting relief and penalties of interest. So normally what we do when we are filing our returns, we self-assess. And one of the requirements we have in our Tax Procedures Act is that that return that you make must be a true account of your affairs. But there are certain errors that come up out of ignorance, maybe even some mistakes that were made when you're filing your return. So you find that when we do our compliance checks, we raise additional assessments over and above what you have self-assessed, and it becomes very expensive for the taxpayer to deal with that, plus penalties and interest thereof. So here is an opportunity for you to do a self-assessment, look at your past returns and see, do I have any taxes that I have not declared? That may be income tax, VAT or excise, and then declare them. And the benefit of this is you're going to get relief of penalties and interests. Yeah. So in the first year of the program, if you make the application in the first year of the program and you pay in 2021, you get 100% relief of penalties and interest. In the second year, that is 2022, you get 50% relief of the penalties and interest. And in the third year, you get 25% relief of the penalties and interest.
Okay, just on that, yes, Monica. So let me then just ask, how far back does the program cover and for how long will it be enforced? Is this something that you're going to see today up to the year 2022, and then after that we don't have it anymore? For how long will this VTDP program be enforced, Monica?
So the periods that qualify is 5 years prior to 1st of July 2020. So a taxpayer may look at their records at that time, their returns, see what is not declared and declare for the period of 5 years prior to 1st of July 2020. Also, this window of opportunity is not going to be available for a very long time because it's a window for 3 years. So you have 3 years from 2021, 2022 up to 31st of December 2023, after which that program will no longer be applicable. Yeah.
Okay, so it came as a result or to help people, pay or, to pay what they couldn't pay or what they had not paid, or why was it enforced in the first place? Yes, you have mentioned that, but why should it end, in 5 years' time, Monica?
So if you've noticed of late as KRA, we've changed our attitude towards tax collection. We are more about facilitation.
Yes.
And one of the modes that we facilitate our taxpayers is by offering payment plans, waiver of penalties and interest and such. So here is a program that is sort of a window of opportunity. Like a bus has come in and said to every Kenyan person who has some tax to declare, the compliance bus is here. And here is a window of opportunity for you to look at your past 5 years, see what is there, see the issues that are there, and then bring yourself. And now we go ahead as compliant taxpayers. Also, a key thing to note is that when you come in and declare these taxes on our iTax platform, we give you payment plan of up to 12 months. So the law allows the commissioner to give the taxpayer a scattered payment plan of up to 12 months. And this with the hope that, in future we become taxpayers who comply on a volunteer basis. Taxpayers who are willing to pay, and maybe all KRA needs to do is facilitate, offer help where it's needed, and such. Yeah.
All right, great, Monica. Now, who is eligible to apply for the program, and are there any exceptions?
So all taxpayers can apply for the program. However, if you under audit, investigation, or party to an ongoing case involving the tax liability, then you will not qualify for that program. So taxpayers who have such mechanisms that have already been set up, they're already ongoing, we cannot now introduce this other program, they'll conflict, so that those ones will not qualify.
Okay, great. Which will then lead to the question, Rolf, if whether the program applies to all types of taxes. We have talked about the exceptions, and now let's talk about the application to the types of taxes. So yes, the types of taxes that the VTDP applies to, Monica.
Okay, so as the Domestic Taxes Department, we collect income taxes, and income taxes can be from various sectors of the economy. So you have rental income. If you have some residential rental property or commercial property, and you've not paid taxes thereof, this is the time to bring yourself. If you have pay as you want from your employees, maybe something happened at some point, you are not able to remit the monies, then that is also qualifying. Withholding income tax, we have capital gains tax on the sale of property, that is land shares and building. All these taxes under income tax qualify. And then we have the other indirect taxes such as value added tax. Under that we have withholding VAT and also excise tax. So it's basically all the taxes that we collect as the Domestic Taxes Department qualify for this voluntary tax disclosure program.
Okay, great. And so far, Monica, how many taxpayers have come forward, and how's the response like so far?
So I'll just read out some numbers here from the division that deals with this.
Great.
So first of all, as KRA, we've not just waited for a taxpayer to give this information. We have sent them notices to tell them this program is available. So we have sent over 80,000 notices telling our taxpayers about the program, letting them know that this window of opportunity.
What platform have you used to do that, Monica?
When we send our notices, we normally use the email address that the taxpayer has provided when they registered on iTax. And also, that in our normal compliance checks, we are in constant communication with our taxpayers. So we know them, we have their contacts, we have their account people, so we are in constant communication, and we have those over 80,000 notices that have gone to the taxpayer. Of that, we have 1,100 and more than 1,000 responses from those letters of taxpayers who have tax to declare. And even before we rolled out the program on iTax, we had over 300 applications on the physical form. And off of that, we have raised more than 997 million Kenya shillings. So you can see that this is a program that taxpayers have embraced, because most of our taxpayers know that we've issued amnesties before. And so they know that this window comes, and when it's locked, you cannot now reopen that. So we have so many people who are taxpayers who have gained trust over the years with KRA, and so they feel that, and they know that this window of opportunity is not a witch hunt, it's just an opening that you can take advantage of.
Okay, great. And are those numbers intertwined with how much KRA has so far collected under the VTDP program?
So how much, the amounts we've collected, yes, are 997. That's more than 997 million, because that figure was at the end of last month. But of course now more people have paid, and we expect
that is under the VTDP program, yeah?
Yes, simply that's just under that voluntary tax disclosure program. Yeah.
Okay, I know we have so many questions on what happens if I don't still pay under the VTDP, but let's ask this. Can people who file nil filers, these are people who just file nil returns, we call them nil filers, yeah, and who have
Yes.
accumulated penalties and interest, benefit from the program?
So the voluntary tax disclosure program applies to a taxpayer who has some principal tax, which has accumulated penalties and interest. So the normal penalty and interest for late payment is 5% and interest of 1% per month. But the other penalties arising from late filing of returns will have to go through the normal audit, normal waiver application process. So that taxpayer will not apply for the voluntary tax disclosure program. They'll go to their iTax profile and apply for waiver of penalties and interest because they don't have any principal tax. Yeah.
Okay, and after that, if they still want to do something with the VTDP, can they still do so?
So this tax has been nil. If this nil is not accurate, if they know that, you know what, my nil is not an accurate reflection of my affairs, then they can apply for voluntary tax disclosure program and disclose previously undisclosed incomes and taxes thereof.
Okay, great. Now let's look at the time frames within which the taxpayers who come forward under the VTDP are required to settle the outstanding taxes. You have talked about it, but maybe take us through, you know, a deeper understanding, expound more on how they can settle the outstanding taxes.
All right. So as a taxpayer declares, for now we have enhanced our iTax system. So if you want to apply for the voluntary tax disclosure program, you log in with your PIN and password on iTax, click on voluntary tax disclosure program, choose the tax obligation and submit the return. When you submit this return, it's going to create a task which is going to go to an officer in your tax service office. They are going to look at your application, look at if it's been made in the prescribed form and then approve. When that is approved, you'll be put on a payment plan of up to 12 months. This payment plan, of course, is going to be an agreement between you and the commissioner. When you now get into that agreement, you comply with the agreement and the release will be given as we have talked about. Remember, the payments that are made in 2021 qualify for 100% relief of penalties and interest. The payments that are made in 2022 qualify for 50% relief of penalties and interest. And the payments that qualify, that are made in 2023 qualify for 25% relief of payment and interest. So that means that if you come in, for example, now we're already in September and you're given the 1-year payment plan, some of your payments will fall in 2022, but only the ones that you make in 2021 are going to qualify for 100% waiver of penalties and interest. And then the 2022 will get the 50%.
Great. All right, Monica, so I'll take up a question that has just come in, and this is a business person, someone who has been in business for a while now. I have a business. I was late to pay. I was late to file the returns. Okay, so how do, and now logging into the KRA website, they are being told that they have a penalty of 490,000. Okay, Monica, this is someone, they paid, they filed their returns, but there was that penalty of they were late to pay. How do they go about this? The business no longer functions, it's no longer there, but they still have to pay the amount. Do they still have to pay, or how do they go about this?
So what happens when you get these demand letters? Because now I'm assuming this person has gotten a demand letter that is telling them they have taxes to pay. Then you engage the tax service office, and you will provide for example, documents, if you have any documents that can support your case, for example, if you've already filed a return, and as KRA we state that this return is not accurate based on the information that you have, then you can provide information that can counter that if you have any. Work with KRA to try and resolve that matter, and then if you come into an agreement, you pay the taxes that come off that. But you have to remember that for the voluntary tax disclosure program, it's for previously undisclosed tax liability. So yours are already in the system. If you see that on your iTax profile you had made a return and the amounts that were due were 200,000 and then you did not pay, they have accumulated penalties and interest, then you would have to pay the principal tax and apply for normal process of waiver of penalties and interest. So if the amount is not in contention, you can be put on a normal payment plan, not under this voluntary tax disclosure program, and then you make your application for waiver of penalties and interest. But if the amount is in contention and you have records that can support your case, then provide those records to the tax service office. When you make the agreement, you will be given a different payment plan based on your ability to pay. And also we have other dispute resolution mechanism. If still you don't agree, you have a right to object to any additional assessment that is issued to you. But you must do so within that days of assessment on iTax. Make it in the prescribed form, and then we'll put you through the dispute resolution mechanisms where you can opt to have an out-of-court settlement, or you can use the tax appeals tribunal and the court mechanisms that we have to resolve your tax dispute.
All right, and another question coming in, which I believe we have answered, which is how the Vtdp program compares to the normal waiver application process. Maybe we can just touch a little bit on that, although we have just mentioned about it.
Yeah, so we can just define again the voluntary tax disclosure program. That this is a program that allows a taxpayer to disclose their previously undisclosed tax liabilities to the commissioner for the purposes of getting relief of penalties and interest. This program is only available for 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2023. And the payments you make in 2021 qualify for 100% waiver of penalties and interest, 2022, 50%, 2023, 25%. The normal waiver process is provided for in our tax laws, where a taxpayer can apply for waiver of penalties and interest after paying the principal taxes. And also in case where you have, for example, we have students who took their pay numbers because of help, so they don't even have any income to declare. So they can apply for normal waiver of penalties and interest. That is in our laws and it's always available. As long as you have paid the principal tax, you have a right to apply for that waiver of application and penalties, waiver of penalties and interest. Give your reasons, provide all the requisite documents that will be asked of you, and your waiver will be processed.
Great. And Monica, as you conclude this discussion or this class, what kind of advice would you give to a taxpayer who is yet to take advantage of the amnesty, probably for fear of being victimized later once they make a disclosure of their unpaid taxes to KRA?
So for taxpayer who has heard about this, you're afraid, please don't be afraid, because as a KRA work ourselves, there's a time we did a sort of research and we asked the taxpayer describe, if KRA was a person, how would you describe that person? And that the feedback we got then produced our core values. Our core values are trustworthy, ethical, competent, and helpful. So over the years, we've been working on our culture. We've been working on the feedback you've given us to come to a point where we understand that you as a taxpayer, us and you are partners. So there's no way we are going to offer such a program and come and victimize you later. We are all going in the same direction, and we want to hold the taxpayers' hand as they grow. Because if your business grows, then everyone in this country benefits. And so please take advantage of this program. It's here for 3 years. And after that, we will go through our normal audit and compliance checks, and you find that we raise additional assessments, and you'll not be able to get the release we've talked about here. So this is like a bus that has come round calling every Kenyan who is willing. Bring yourself. And when that compliance bus goes, it goes to a future where we are tax compliant, where you don't have an issue with KRA because you have cleared all your affairs. So get into the good books of KRA, and you'll be able to grow a business with a lot of peace of mind, and you will know that we are there for you, ready to facilitate you even when you face issues or difficulties in your tax liabilities.
Great. Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you too for having me.
All right, so there you have it, Monica Githuba, KRA tax expert on the voluntary tax disclosure program, which ends in 3 years' time from 2021, 22, all the way to the year 2023. So it's time you took advantage of that and declare or disclose the taxes that you had not paid from those your other side hustles or businesses. All right, so now we take a short commercial break, but stay tuned because when we come back, the economic review with us.